From orphan to icon, her smile lit up the screen, but her heart harbored shadows. Join us as we peel back the curtain on Hollywood's most enigmatic star. From her rise to fame to her mysterious demise, uncover the truth behind the blonde bombshell who became a legend. This is the rise and fall of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn's story began with a childhood marred by instability. Born as Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926, she was given up to a deeply religious foster home when she was just 2 weeks old. Her biological mother, Gladys Pearl Baker, claimed that Norma's biological dad was a man named Charles Stanley Gifford, but he left when he found out she was pregnant. Unfortunately, her mother was later diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic and was institutionalized in 1934. As a young girl of 16, Monroe found herself swept away by the tidal wave of early marriage. She married a local guy named James Dougherty to avoid going back to an orphanage. However, the union was far from perfect. She later wrote,
"My relationship with him was basically insecure from the first night I spent alone with him."
As World War II began, her husband Dougherty went on to serve his country, and Marilyn just could not sit idle. She found herself employed as a factory worker, a far cry from the glitz and glamour that would later define her career. This period in her life, spent amid the grit and sweat of the factory, was a turning point. This picture was taken by a photographer for the Air Force. That photograph became the cover of a military magazine, kickstarting Monroe's modeling career. Monroe embarked on her journey into the world of glamour as a pin-up model, a profession with its fair share of scandal and controversy. She often rocked bikinis for photo shoots, flaunting her curves, and you'd spot her gracing the covers of many famous pin-up mags. Soon, she caught the eyes of Ben Lyon, who was a film casting director at the 20th Century Fox Studios. She then signed a 6-month contract with the production company and finally changed her name to Marilyn Monroe, a combination of 1920s actress Marilyn Miller and her mother's middle name, Monroe. From a factory worker, Monroe transformed into an actress, model, and singer who defined an era. Her beauty, talent, and charisma captivated audiences worldwide. She became the epitome of Hollywood glamour, an icon of beauty and elegance who continues to inspire generations. However, this initial taste of success, this sweet nectar of fame, was not untouched by the bitter sting of controversy. Back in the day as a struggling model, in an attempt to earn a living, Marilyn posed for some photographs without clothes on. In 1953, Playboy magazine released its launch issue with Monroe's bare-skinned photos, all without her permission. But instead of denying it all, she chose to own it, which led to her becoming the sex symbol that we know. Monroe often played roles where she was seen as ditzy and superficial, which helped popularize the dumb blonde stereotype. People back then couldn't separate her on-screen persona from her real self, leading to doubts about her intelligence. As Monroe's career progressed, she grew frustrated with being typecast and wanted to be taken more seriously as an actress. To achieve this, she studied method acting with renowned coach Lee Strasberg, known for working with stars like Marlon Brando and Paul Newman. Monroe was now Hollywood's biggest star, but life was far from perfect. The studio executives intensely controlled the personal and professional lives of actors, including Monroe. She was grossly underpaid and was forced to play the dumb blonde stereotype. To fight back, Monroe stopped showing up to productions, which led to multiple lawsuits. Eventually, the lawsuits were dropped, and the company agreed to pay her higher wages. Monroe also negotiated for the creative freedom to choose her own films, and the company agreed. Los Angeles Mirror described it as one of the greatest single triumphs ever won by an actress. Life was looking good for Monroe, and she hoped it would get better with her second marriage with Joe DiMaggio, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Their marriage was highly publicized, but soon it went sour. DiMaggio was highly jealous and possessive of Monroe, especially because of the kind of roles she portrayed in films. He tried to control the way she dressed, the way she lived, and even tried to turn her into a housewife. The rocky marriage only lasted 9 months. But that wasn't the end of her love life. In 1956, Marilyn Monroe went on to marry for a third time marrying prolific playwright Arthur Miller.
"This is the first time I've been really in love,"
she once said. But despite their shared love for the creative arts, their marriage was rocked by painful heartbreak and multiple miscarriages. Their shared passion for their respective crafts couldn't save their marriage from the tumultuous storms that followed. Amidst the turbulence of her romantic relationships, rumors were floating about an alleged affair between Monroe and the charismatic President John F. Kennedy. The rumors sparked when Monroe sang her famous rendition of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." Despite her private life being a public spectacle, Monroe was left to fend for herself. Behind the luminous smile and the sultry persona, she grappled with mental health issues. Towards the end of her career, she fell into a dark depression after her third divorce. She was even committed to a psych ward in 1961 due to being highly unstable. Soon Monroe's addictions took a toll on her career. What followed was a series of unfortunate events that marked the subsequent decline of one of the most iconic figures in Hollywood. Her life had become a roller coaster, filled with ups that were overshadowed by menacing, mostly caused by her growing reliance on substances. Her last film project, a promising feature titled "Something's Got to Give," was destined to add a new jewel to her already dazzling career. Yet the dream never materialized. Monroe's frequent absences from the set began to disrupt the production schedule, causing delays that eventually became unbearable for the film crew. She was soon fired from the film, and the film, despite its immense potential, was never completed. It was a tragic end to an illustrious career, a clear indication of her spiraling downfall. And then, the final act. Marilyn Monroe, an irrepressible symbol of Hollywood's golden age, was found lifeless within the quiet confines of her Brentwood home in 1962. The news of her death echoed across the globe, sending ripples through a society that had watched her meteoric rise to stardom. The Los Angeles police ultimately ruled the tragic incident as a probable suicide. Her death, shrouded in mystery and controversy, sparked speculations. Was it a suicide as made out to be, or was there more to it than met the eye? In the midst of the conjecture, one thing was clear. Marilyn Monroe had left an indelible mark on Hollywood and on the hearts of millions worldwide. But despite the tragedy, Monroe's legacy lives on. She remains a symbol of beauty and talent, a testament to the fact that even the most beautiful roses have thorns. Her life serves as a reminder that behind every glamorous facade, there is often a story of struggle and resilience. So, if you've enjoyed this journey into the life of Marilyn Monroe and want to explore more such stories, consider subscribing for more intriguing tales of Hollywood's finest, the tragedies and triumphs, the rise and fall, and the legacy left behind. This is where it all unfolds.